All right, everybody, we are back with another episode of Wealth for the Culture. I got a guest today, man. Some of y'all may know him as George Pitts. Some of y'all like me, y'all know him as the man who's always talking about monetize everything. So first off, I just want to say thank you, my brother, for coming through to drop these gems. And how you doing today, man?
Man, I'm blessed, man. I'm so happy to be here on Wealth for the Culture, man. Been hearing some of the episodes, man. Definitely in my rotation for podcast listens. So, man, just happy to be on here, man, and thank you for the opportunity.
No, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you, man. It's always good, we like to highlight black people on the show that's out there doing something, making it happen, building wealth for themselves. And for one, you teaching others as well. So we can't let that slip by either, man. But first off, can you just do me a favor? To anybody that may not be familiar with your brand and what you do, even though you did have one Instagram page that was crazy big, now you're building up another one that's already that took off. And it seems like you just started that one and it's already done blew up. So can you just let everybody know a little bit about yourself, your background and all that?
Yeah, man. So, my name is George Pitts. I'm a business strategist. What I do is I teach people how to take their knowledge and skills that they have and turn that into digital products that they can actually generate passive income online. Teaching them how to create their own products such as lead magnets, courses, webinars, and really just showing them how the knowledge and the information that they have can be used in so many ways online to generate a lot of income from people who need to know the information that they know. So that's what I specialize in. That's what I enjoy doing the most, is just showing people how to monetize everything, man. And it started for me back in December of 2009, December 15th of 2009. It was 10 days before Christmas. I had just started a job in payroll for this large hotel chain. And what happened was I didn't get any training. I was actually there on a contract. My background's in IT. My contract was over, but everybody there loved me. So they're like, yo, we need to find a way to keep him, but we don't have any IT positions here. They're only at corporate. We were just there for a project. And once that project was implemented, that was pretty much it. So they said, what if we get you a job in our payroll department? We'll train you, we'll teach you how to run payroll, but we really need some, people like you here with us. I said, yeah, you know what I'm saying? They're talking about paying you more money. This is a high-end hotel chain, so you get these $200-300 rooms for $25 as an employee. Good benefits. You're a newlywed. Why wouldn't you do that, right? So man, I ended up doing it. I was in that role for about 3 months, and I was struggling. And so I went to my director, and I was like, "Yo, I'm really struggling in this. I want to be the best at this. I really want to be good at this, but I didn't get a lot of training. I didn't really get any training at all, and I want to be better. Can I sit with someone? Can someone sit with me? I want to be good at this job." And man, bro, she looked me in my eyes and said, "We're going to get you all the training you need. The reason we hired you is because of your attitude and your transparency. This is just another reason why we know we made the right decision to hire you. I'm going to make sure that you're successful." The next day, bro, I walked in, finished my day. I was very happy, about to walk out to get ready to go home. And they called me into the office, and my director was like, or my manager was like, "Hey, walk out with me," because it was getting dark outside, and I was just like, "Okay, yeah, I'll walk you out." Man, she's like, "I need to drop these papers off to HR." So we stopped in HR. I'm sitting there. The HR director comes out and says, "Mr. Pitts, are you ready?" And I kind of look like, "What?" So I walk in and I'm like, "What do you mean?" And she was just like, "So I understand that you guys decided it was best for you guys to separate ways, you from the company and then from you." And I was like, "What? What are you talking? I think you got the wrong person." They had literally set me up, bro. They like sent me to this HR department and basically said that we decided it was best that he resign, and he decided that was best too. Never had that conversation.
Man.
And literally 10 days before Christmas, man, I lost my job, and for asking for more help. I wasn't on. I'd never been written up, never been in any trouble. All I asked for was more help, and I was sent packing. And bro, that stuck with me for years. And I made a commitment to myself because I was newlywed at the time, living paycheck to paycheck. I said I'll never let someone ever control how I pay my family or how I support my family 100%. It's not that I don't believe in earned income or making money from a job. It's just that that's never going to ever be again in my life how I make 100% of my income.
No, that's
And that's the
powerful.
birth of Monetize Everything.
Hey, and I'm glad you hit on this right here. And crazy, first off, because it worked out. In hindsight, it looked like it all worked out perfectly. Because look at where you are now.
Right.
But it's just crazy that somebody, especially, and this is a lot of reasons why people don't want to ask for help because you don't like, and they wonder like you just don't, you end up asking for help trying to do something better and get better so that you can be a more of an asset to a company that they took a chance on you by hiring you. So you just you try to do the best you can, and you don't want to put out something that's not quality. And then it comes back to bite you, and especially like that was just a foul way to do something, in my opinion, personally. Like that don't even make no sense. They ain't have enough integrity to look you in the eye and let you go. Nothing like that. Just kind of explaining a situation. So I just want to say that's powerful, man. But clearly, it turned out for the best. And I want to know how did you attack? Like, how did you go on after that? And like, how did you get into the entrepreneurship space? Following up with that, because that's crazy. 10 days for Christmas, man. Like, most people fold. They just fold, man. And you didn't.
Let me tell you something, man. I almost did. And I'm going to tell you the story. If you've ever lost a job, I mean, many people who are listening to this, you guys work a job before. When, weeks before Christmas, people are taking off. So they're taking off for Christmas, they're taking off for New Year's, and then when they finally come back in sometime in January, they're spending the next few weeks just getting caught up on everything that they missed from all the time that they took off. So ain't nobody really hiring after the new year until like February because they're just getting caught up with their own work before they start trying to
Yeah,
hire
that's
other
a
people.
fact.
So the next day, December 16th, my wife, she used to work 6 a.m. to 3:30. So she had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get ready for work. And so what I would do is we didn't have remote start or nothing. And this was December, so it was winter. I always went out to her car and I would sit in her car and let it warm up while she was getting ready for work. That way, when she finished, she could come out, her car was warm and it was ready to go. It's 5 in the morning. I don't want my wife sitting in the parking lot of an apartment complex waiting on her car to warm up. Anything can happen. So I did that every morning. And I remember, man, she got in her car, we kissed her, sent her off. And as I was watching her leave and I saw her tail lights and I couldn't see her tail lights anymore, I said to myself, she's going to work to support me.
Yeah.
And as a man, I felt this big because I'm thinking to myself, my wife is going to support me and I'm supposed to be the man that's supporting her. So I walk back into our apartment. It's about 5:29 and I lay in bed and I could feel myself like getting down on myself, feeling sorry for myself, getting
Yeah.
depressed. And it literally went from it being dark in our room to sunlight. So I laid there like that with my jacket still on, my shorts, my flip flops, everything I had on for like 2.5 hours just laying there. And I remember I heard a voice say, "Get up and figure it out." What? I'm talking about, man, I heard a voice to where I thought it was someone in the other room. Get up and figure it out. Like that's what it sounded like. So we had this second bedroom and I went in there and I just started applying for jobs. That's the natural instinct.
Yeah.
And so I applied for jobs. Week went by, didn't hear nothing. And I'm sitting there like, what's going on? So finally, man, I just started looking for how to make money on the internet. That's a dark hole to follow.
Oh yeah.
But I came across this site called Work at Home Moms. And it was a forum. Forums were the things before Facebook groups. So I got in this forum and these are all moms. But
Yeah.
I introduced myself like they say, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you. I told them what happened and I was looking for it. I had all these women like, we're so happy to see you. We're gonna help you find a job. I think that is so great that you decided to join and you're trying to find something and man, they just started giving me the game in this forum. And I ended up getting 3 work at home jobs. They were all part-time doing customer service for like Best Buy, QVC, MoneyGram, like all these places that hire people to take calls for them during the holidays, right? Because that's when e-commerce was starting to kind of take off. So they set you up and you take calls and you're kind of on your way. But that's where I started to learn about internet marketing because then people started making posts about, hey, I made some money, doing some SEO for this local company's website. And I'm like, what's SEO? And I'm learning about all these terms and stuff. And so I get my first check, we pay our bills, and we have about $600 left over, which was a lot because I didn't talk about how I took my car back because
Oh man.
even though we weren't behind, I was like, I need to eliminate this money. So
I
I
got you.
literally sent the car back, self repossession. That's a whole nother story. But we had all this money left over, and this person had a course for $400 that was teaching you how to build WordPress websites, and then how to basically do like SEO on the sites, how to do your H1 text and everything to make them rank on Google. So when customers are searching for stuff, they come up in the search results. And so, man, after I took that course and started doing that, I just started calling people on Craigslist under the services page and acting like I was interested in their services. Like attorneys, I would say, "Hey, I found your ad on Craigslist. I was wondering, do you have a website? I'm a website developer, and I love to look at more information on people's websites. Can you send me your link so I can learn more about your services?" And like I would get these responses back from people like, "Well, we don't have a website. Here's the services we offer, but I sure would like to talk to you about possibly seeing if you would do some website work for us." And that's how I was able to get customers. And I ended up getting a job February 10th of 2010. But by then, I was already doing about maybe $1,000 a month doing websites. And I ended up scaling 6 months into my job to where I was doing over $7,000 a month doing websites. So that was my first foray
Man.
into adult entrepreneurship.
Okay. That's first off, man. It's just some. It says something, right? Because a lot of things I got from that. We just try to unpack this because a lot of people, we mentioned like they would get down on themselves, and like you said, even though it happened with you, even, and it's understandable. You're trying to figure out, especially as a man that's trying to provide for his. I understand that. So it's like for you to be able to go have the wherewithal and push the ego to the side. First off, you was even mentioning how you joined the work at home group for the moms, and I know that probably took a lot for you to even go join that. So for you to be able to go join that, it just be like, hey, this is what the situation is. I need some help. That's huge because a lot of people don't even deal with that type of stuff. A lot of people not going to even go address that type of thing for themselves and try to figure it out from there. So I definitely say that's a big thing.
For me, man, let me tell you something. I would rather ask for help when I'm in the comfort of my own home than being kicked out on the street asking for help on the corner. You know what I'm saying? That's just where I'm at. I would rather ask for help when I'm in the comfort of my own home to learn something that I don't know than to sit up and ask for help when I'm kicked out on the street because I can't pay my rent and begging someone to give me money. So at that point,
That's
all bets were off from asking for help. I wasn't in a position to where I was going to lose everything, right? I wasn't there, but my mindset, because of just how I was raised and having that survival mode mindset, I always think like if you don't get started now, eventually you will be in that position. So why not basically take the action now instead of waiting until you have to take the action?
That's a fact. And you wasn't even like you mentioned, you was like you wasn't hesitant to give up your car. You understood the situation. And that's just a sacrifice you had to make for something better later on. And I got a question: like when you was coming up, was entrepreneurship like a thing for you, or was this like the first introduction you had? Really?
Let me tell you, man, my first foray into entrepreneurship. So let me back this up a little bit. The only entrepreneurship I ever heard about growing up was my grandfather.
Mm.
My grandfather died when my mom was 9 years old, so I never got to meet him. But he had a very successful barbecue restaurant where we were from. We had people like Minnesota Fats that came through there, Daz Dillinger, like all these gangsters. They used to come when they would come through Oklahoma. They would stop and eat at my grandfather's restaurant, and he had a pool table. So like Minnesota Fats and like some of these people used to come and play pool in there, and they got pictures with all these like famous gangsters and pool players and like people that just came to eat his barbecue. So he died when my mom was 9 years old, and my uncle, my oldest, my mom's oldest brother, who was her half brother, because was my grandfather's son, he sold everything.
Man.
His grills, his real estate. My grandpa owned tons of houses, sold everything. He was just greedy. And he ended up becoming a hermit, meaning that he did so many people wrong and so many people were disappointed in him. He literally would just stay in his house. He stayed in his house for like the next 20, 30 years. Like no one really bothered me. Um, so that was the only thing that I knew about, just hearing stories about him as an entrepreneur, but I never got to see it for myself. My first foray into entrepreneurship, I was 12 years old. My grandmother had this silver lawnmower. It was a Murray. I'll never forget the brand.
Okay.
So I used to cut her grass because my grandmother raised me. And what I would do for extra money is I would push her lawnmower up this street and I would knock on people's door and ask them to cut the yards. One day I was cutting this lady's yard whose grass was high, like really high. I'm talking about, it came up to like my ankles high. And she had, where we lived, we didn't have wooden fences like you see in the suburbs now. We had wire chain link fences, right?
Yeah.
So she had this little dog that would always dig and get out, and she would, always like panic in the neighborhood. Have you guys seen my dog? Have you guys seen my dog? Well, basically, where he would dig, the bottom of the chain link fence was like up, but I couldn't see it because the grass was covered it. So I'm mowing the yard, and I go over it, and my blade gets caught up, and literally, it almost broke my wrist because like the way my blade caught that thing, it just snatched it and literally like bent my blade on my lawnmower in half. So I had to take my grandfather, who had a pickup truck. We took it to this place called Corn Forest Key Shop. It was a place that created keys, but in the back of it, they fixed lawnmowers. So we took it there, and there wasn't no Amazon and all that back in the 90s. So if you order, if they were like, well, we're going to have to order a blade and put it on. It's going to take about 3 or 4 weeks to get here. You know what I'm saying? That's how long it took. Well, I had all these lawns to cut, man, and I had money to be made. So I went to some of my friends in the neighborhood who had lawnmowers, and I said, hey, this yard over here, if you cut the front, or excuse me, if you cut the backyard, because the backyards were always bigger in my neighborhood than the front yards. If you cut the back, I'm going to give you $10, and if you let me use your lawnmower, I'll give you 5 more. So they would cut the backyard, and I would use their lawnmower to cut the front. I'd give them $15, and I would take 10. Now, some people will be like, you took less money? But the thing is, I'm using their lawnmower, and they did the majority of the work by cutting the back. The front was very easy. So I did that for literally a whole month, and then I got my lawnmower back. Well, once I started cutting the yards, my friends, because when you're like 12, 13 years old, $10, $15, that's a lot of money. And, I'm paying them like $40, $50 a day. Well, not a day, probably like every couple of days, but let's just say $50 a week. That was a lot of money. They were like, George, you got any more lawns? Because I'm back in business now. And I'm like, nah, man, I ain't got no more. So what I did was I took my lawnmower and started going in the streets behind my grandmother's. So instead of just on her street, I started going to the other streets, and I ended up getting 22 yards. And so I started paying them to cut the whole yard. Hey, I'm going to give you $15 to cut this whole yard. You know what I'm saying? So I would have them do like 5 or 6 lines that I couldn't get to. I would still do some. And man, I started doing about $140, $150 a week. And I used to give it to my grandma to hold. And she would be like, you make this much money? Because even for adults, that was some good money. And that was my first foray into entrepreneurship.
Man, that's the true hustle. Hey, and delegating too at that at 12 too. That's crazy. Hey, see, it's stuff like that lead into what you like, things you got going now. Now, what I want to get into though, is where did this monetize everything? Like, where did this mantra come from?
Man, so there was this app called Periscope. And Periscope was a live streaming app. It was before Facebook Live, Instagram Live. Like Periscope was the platform. There was other ones like Meerkat and some other ones, but Periscope was like the Don. And then Twitter bought them, and it just went down. But anyway, I started on there, and all I would do is just vlog my day about me going, and because at the time I was selling on eBay. I had an eBay store, and I had just got into Amazon. So I would just go live on Periscope and show my shipments that were coming in, or show me going to the post office with all these crates, and boxes to basically ship off. And people were like, yo, how did you do that? Like, how are you getting all this stuff? How are you getting all, they just couldn't believe it. And so what ended up happening was one day I was like, hey, come with me today as I trade penny stocks, because I was trading penny stocks too. And I made $7,000 this one day while I had my camera. I actually was using this thing right here, and I had my phone turned this way where you could see my screen, and I was showing people I was trading penny stocks. And I made seven. It was like 6,800 or something. But you know how we do as Black people, we round
Yeah,
it to the next
yeah.
number. So I made like close to $7,000 this day. I was tripping, and they were like, "You trade stocks too?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I take the money from my 9 to 5 because I was working in a job at that time. That's how I buy my stuff from my eBay store. The money I make from eBay, I invested into penny stocks. I monetize everything." And people are just like in the comments, monetize everything, monetize everything. And I won't say I was the first person to ever say monetize everything. I'm not going to say that, but it just stuck with me. So every time I would come live, when I would finish the live, I would say, remember, guys, if you're committed to taking care of your money will be committed to taking care of you. Until next time, monetize everything. And the whole chat, monetize everything. And that's just kind of how that kind of came along.
Man, that is dope. That's crazy because you was ahead of the game. Like you didn't like back then. It wasn't even a thing. People be recording like day and like that was just like really getting started. Follow especially for like entrepreneurs that's out here making money, kind of documenting their journey. So you really was like the trendsetter in this regard for the most part when you think about it.
You
So
you could say that, man. And I think my biggest problem was inst- Periscope had to die off really for me to really go to the next level because I got too comfortable. People started kind of taking started doing what I was doing and taking it to a whole nother level. And I was just like, well, I'm doing pretty good over here. I'm just going to stick with what I know. And I really should have been doing a lot of stuff I'm doing now. I should have started that stuff a couple, like 3-4 years ago.
yeah.
But we're doing it now. You know what I'm saying? We're making it happen, and we're killing it in all these areas. And you know what I'm saying? You know what they say, better late than never. And that's just what we're doing.
Hey man, salute to you, my brother. Because a lot of people, you mentioned that you even at the time you were doing all of this, you had found like you had a job and you were doing that as well. So, for the fact that you had found you another job and was still willing to go do this, it just goes into like that's why I always try to tell people when I'm talking like people be like, why you always doing all this other stuff, even though you got a job or whatever. And I'm just like, I think it just is a different mentality for people that are like entrepreneurs. So like even though you got even if it's a job that's paying you well, even you willing to go sacrifice your extra time to go build something else that'll kind of set you up because like you even mentioned not depending on your 9 to 5 as your only source of income because then you like it's all dependent on them like if you happen to have a situation like you where you just happen to say the wrong thing to the wrong person that day and you end up without a job and unemployed you're gonna have to figure it out so it's better to just start right now because at the end of the day I think the thing is everybody should be working towards trying to build wealth in some aspect of capacity. And you may not see no $1 million when you first get started. Like even you said you was complacent at first and you was just cool what you was bringing in. But the fact is you was bringing in something. So as long as you get started, it allows you to be able to scale at some point in time, whenever that point is that you feel like you're ready to take that on. So I'm glad you're hitting on all of this because these are some major gems for people. And a lot of people have that misconception that like, oh, just because I'm working a job, I don't need to go, try to do nothing else. But that's not the case.
Nah, man. And, it's crazy because when I think about it, I just remember all the people in my job that used to be like, George always leaves at the right at the 8 hour mark. He never even says bye to people, right? He just leaves, right? He comes in and he leaves right at the time he's supposed to leave because some of them would sit around and linger and all this other stuff. But at the time, man, like I had to like get home. I had this crate sitting on my doorstep with over like $10,000 in iPhones. I had like $1,500 in like NBA jerseys sitting on my doorstep. So I needed to get home, get that stuff listed, and get it posted. I didn't have time to be playing. And they used to just say, "Oh, he doesn't come out with us no more. He doesn't do that." They would say stuff like that. But that's why it trips them out when I tell them it's uncomfortable for me to do what I do right now on social media because I don't like people knowing my business. You know what I'm saying? I don't. It's difficult for me.
I'm trust me. If anybody would understand, I get it. Because when I started doing this, it was just people's like, "Oh, you just go put this as a podcast, or something." And I was just kind of like, I usually like to keep. I don't know. Maybe it's a black person thing or what. You just kind of like to be private because you don't really know who's
Yeah.
paying attention to you. Because people you never know.
Right. There's haters and stuff. So, I was just sitting there like, I don't, I never told them what I did. Like, when I tell you it was like 6 years into it before people found out what I was doing, and then everybody wanted to know how I was doing it then. But before it was just like he always leaves right at 2:30. He doesn't hang out with us. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't do this. You know, every time we want to play video games at night, he doesn't get on till like 10 o'clock at night. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you be doing? It's like, it ain't none of your damn business what I be doing, number one. And number two, you know, there's a difference between why people, some of y'all are like, oh, I need to get some overtime. And I'm the one that's like, I ain't really trying to sign up for no overtime. Because I was making more money doing what I was doing.
Yep.
So, you know, that's just kind of what it was for me, man. It was just, I understood that I was replaceable, and I understood that I was, that a job can take something away from you at any time. And I think having that mentality and understanding that, hey, you need to create more income outside of here, it basically put me in a position to where people that were like the powers that be where I worked at, they saw me different because I didn't walk in there and like feeling like, oh, I need to kiss some people's butt or I need to do this and do that. I speak my mind. I say what's on my mind, and I basically move in a way where I don't need, where they know he must not need this job. He must not need this income. That's the way they looked at me. You know what I'm saying? For years when I was there, because it was just like, he doesn't do what the other people does. You know what I'm saying? And he comes in here and is like, yo, I need more money or I gotta go. You know, like that's just the mentality that I had. But I wasn't disrespectful. You know, let me be clear on that. I was never disrespectful. It's just that I didn't need to play a game that I wasn't planning to play long term. So I wasn't planning to pay the let me, you know, massage your back or kiss your butt so I can climb the ladder. That wasn't a long term play for me. I've always known that. So because I didn't play that game, they respected it enough to where they're like, well, let's just keep bringing them up so we can keep them. Because one of the things about it, I was very good at what I do, very good at what I do, very good at you know, staying locked in, getting my stuff done. You're never going to have complaints about me not getting stuff done because I understand the value of just being a hard worker and basically, you know, doing what you're supposed to do, because that translates into business as well. But at the same time, I don't know what this guy's got going, but he act like he don't even need this money, and I make some hella good money. So when you do that, it changes the perspective of the people that can level you up or give you more money and all this other stuff. Because when they see that, yo, he's not playing the game that many other people are playing, they start to see that we need this person because their skill sets, because your skill sets can be so good, but if you don't understand how good your skills are and you let them just determine how they look at you, you could be the dopest person in the room, but if you got this mindset, oh, I gotta kiss some butt or I gotta do this, they know they got you. But when you don't have to do that and you one of the top people in the room, they're like, we got to make sure we keep him because he'll go at any time. And it's just this is how it works.
That's a fact. You definitely need to understand your worth early on, people, because it's an easy path to go down when you start thinking like, you know, and especially as black people, man, just to say it like it is, like, you know, we always got that chip on our shoulder. We feel like we got to work twice hard as the next person, and not only that, but try to fit in with everybody too to make them like you. And sometimes that ain't necessary, man. Like, just stay true to who you are, and as long as you know that what you doing outside of work ain't affecting what you got going on at work, because at the end of the day, everybody got to start off somewhere. So you may start out with a 9 to 5. You may not just go jump straight into entrepreneurship. You might not have that luxury. But even like you were saying, your 9 to 5 was your first means to invest in other things. Like, you was investing in your stocks and your business. And real quick, like, so you were doing eBay. Did you ever get into like the what's it called? Drop shipping or anything like that? Or you were
Oh
just
yeah,
straight because
heavy. That's where those pallets were coming from. Like, so I got into importing first, right? Importing stuff from overseas, wholesale, bring it over here and put it in. Then when I was starting to level up and do courses and training, and I started seeing like the like how good it was, I started focusing on that. But I was like, if I'm going to be doing these courses and all this other stuff in the evenings, I can't be spending my time packaging up stuff and going to the post office 3 4 times an evening and having this 9 to 5. I don't have enough time.
mm-hmm.
So that's when I got into a course, learned about drop shipping, and literally took it to the next level because I created my own strategy for how I did it, and it worked so well. And literally, I eliminated the whole need to order things from overseas, and I was literally making almost, I wasn't making double yet, but I was probably making about 25% more doing drop shipping. And literally, I had about 10% less of returns that I had to deal with. So it ended up being like beautiful. And it literally changed so much for me because I was still able to make a good amount of money, but then it allowed me to get into this space I'm in now and make a lot of money. And it literally changed my whole life. Drop shipping changed my whole life, not from the income that I was making from it, but the opportunity and the time it gave me back from the income that I'm making doing what I'm doing now.
Okay, and don't let that go in your head, people, because honestly, it's more so about time for people than money. I think that's what a lot of people get confused. Like the money just give you the means to be able to free up your time. So I definitely want people not to let that go in their head. And real quick, because you said you bought a course for that, like did you have like a coach, you had like a mentor, I guess, or like a coach, I guess per se, for this.
So let me tell you what happened, man. When you say I was ahead of my time, so on Periscope, when I was going live and showing my shipments, I used to have people say, George, do you teach this? Do you coach? I didn't know what any of that stuff was at the time. I was just going live, just showing my day. That's all I was using Periscope for. I love the app, the live streaming component. I love being able to see people from other states and countries come into your live and just see you do stuff. I thought it was just the coolest thing in the world. So that's really why I was doing it. It was no monetary thing because I didn't even think you could do something monetary in that perspective. So when you get a lot of people asking to pay you money to teach them something, you start to pay attention. But I'm so glad that I had enough sense to be like, let me figure out how to do this the right way. Because I could have easily said, yeah, PayPal me this much money, let's get on Skype and I'll show you how to do it. Right? I could have hustled that way out of where I'm not doing anything because there's more structured stuff out there now, like what I do now. So there was this time, I was like, I need to find somebody to help me do this. So at the time, everybody on Periscope was a coach. Oh, I'm the business coach. I'm the sales coach. I'm the this coach. And everybody was a coach. So I started just going into more of those coaches' Periscopes and just listening to them. And there was this guy named Kelly James that he came on every day at the same time, and he would spend no more than 30 minutes on there. And he would just give you just some great information about sales strategies, and then he would get off. I mean, he never would pushed anything like this is a sales coach. I'd never heard this guy sell anything. And then, but he had clients. He was doing very well. So I sent him a message and I said, hey, I don't think sales is going to be my problem. I really don't need any sales help. But I was wondering if you would be willing to teach me how to do what you do, how to like be a coach and coach and teach people what I know. And he said, I've never had anybody ask me that because he was a sales coach. He's like, give me a day to think about it. And the next day he wrote me back. He said, I'll be willing to do it. This is how much it'll cost. We'll work together for 6 weeks. But in the 4th week, you should be able to launch your first product and you'll start selling right away. Most of the people, they got to wait the full 6 weeks, but I'll have you ready in 4. And the next 2 weeks after that, we'll just iron everything out. So I said, cool. PayPal'd him the money. We worked together for 4 weeks. We stood all my systems, put everything in place. I promoted my first course. And if you want to hear the story about imposter syndrome, I'm willing to say it if we got some time. I want to be.
You got time, man. Go ahead.
So, bro, let me tell you this, man.
That's real.
I gotta laugh about it, man. But so I put my course up, and this was a live course I was going to teach. It wasn't recorded. I was going to teach it live, and I put it up for $97. This other guy that I knew who was a coach also, he texted me. He's like, "Hey man, how's the sales for your course going?" I was like, "Oh, it's cool. I just posted it. I got 4 people that signed up." He's like, "Cool, cool. What's the link, man, so I can put it in my Facebook group?" I sent him the link, and he texted me back a few minutes later. He said, "Hey man, I need you to do me a favor." I said, "What?" He's like, "Hold on." And then my phone rings. I pick up. Hello. He's like, "Hey man, you need to take that down." I was like, "Take what down?" He's like, "You need to take that. You need to take that down." I'm like, I can't stand behind that. It's like, what do you mean? You know what I'm saying? My heart started beating fast. Like, what's going on? He said, bro, $97. I can't stand behind that. You gotta take that down. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you need to put that thing at $500. I said, what? He Excuse
Man.
me? He said, you need to take that down. Do you know what you're about to teach people how to do? How much money they're about to make for what you're about to teach? You need to take that down right now. We went back and forth for 20 minutes, and I'm trying to reason with him why I shouldn't charge more money. And he finally said, look, I got a call to get on. I got a coaching session to get on in 5 minutes. If you keep that up for $97, I will never talk to you again. Straight up. And I said, man, I can't do that. He's like, well, what can you do? I said, I can meet you halfway. He said, cool, $300. I was like, no, like $250. He said, $297. I said, all right. So I put it up for $297. Over the next day and a half, 26 people signed up.
Man.
I only had 4 people sign up at 97. At 297, 26 people signed up. I got so scared and freaked out by all the money I was making, and I hadn't done the live course yet, that I took it down. So I'm getting all these messages on Friday. People are like, yo, I got paid. I'm trying to register. I clicked that link that was there, and it says it doesn't exist. What's going on? I was like, we're sold out. Oh, man. Like, I mean, I got at least 10 to 12 messages from people trying to
This is the wildest thing, man. My boy is going through the same. He just did the same exact thing a week ago. He just took it down.
I'm telling you, man, like imposter syndrome's real. Like I left $3,600 on the table. $3,600 because I was scared. And there's no telling how much more the people that just didn't email me when they saw, oh, it's not up there. Well, I guess.
Yeah, I'm about to say, you said you only had it up for a few days, right? Like, that's crazy.
I had it up for 2 days. 2 days. I sold 4 at $97 and 26 at $297.
Oh, yeah,
I did the training on Friday night. And I didn't get through the whole thing. And when I got off the training, I was like, so guys, what do y'all think? And they were like, oh, I can't wait. I'm looking all over my house right now. This is the best thing ever. I said, well, guys, I didn't get to finish. So if you guys would like to meet tomorrow at 12 o'clock, I'd like to finish. They said, wait, there's more? I was like, yeah, I didn't talk about this. I didn't talk about that. Oh, but this was the best $300 I ever spent. I'm there. I will be there tomorrow. And man, I did it. And I didn't spend that money for almost 2 months because I was afraid that someone was going to ask for their money back. Man. And the only reason I decided to finally spend it was I got 2 people that said, I ran out of inventory and I don't know a way to get some more. Do you got some ways or, do you have some ideas of how I can get it? Because Christmas is around the corner. I want to get my stuff ready for Christmas and get my store ready. But with shipping and everything, I'm not going to get my stuff in time. And I was like, well, you could go and do this, this, and this. It was a new strategy I had just learned about called arbitrage. Oh, thank you so much. I made $6,000 on the side since I took your course. This is so great. And once I learned about all the people that were like making money from it, I finally took the money that was in my PayPal account, which was $7,856, I think. It was just sitting in there for months, and I finally allowed myself to spend it. Or at least,
man, that is crazy. And it's crazy you mentioned the whole imposter, because I think everybody that's in the entrepreneur space that does any type of really anything gets that feeling. So to be able to just have that happen, I definitely understand what you mean with that, because it's one of those things. Like I mentioned, like I have a friend of mine right now that he helps out credit repair companies, and he said he put it out. He said in like 5 minutes, he had so many people that signed up that he just took it down because he was like, he was just like, nah, I'm good. Like, because he didn't, like, people don't really know, especially when you just getting started. That's one thing, because like you tenured now, like you've been doing this for a minute, so you a vet in the game, and you know what you know, and you got your price. But a lot of people just getting started, they got that same mentality that you had at first, where it's like, nah, I can't do this. There's no way I could charge this much for something. But right. I've learned after talking to, especially with this podcast, I've talked to so many people. It's kind of like, for one, it's one of those things like sometimes you have to charge a higher price point for people to take it serious.
Right.
Because a lot of people, they'll pay this, you see a course for like, $50 or something like that. And it's kind of just like one of those things like, well, I can go get some food or something. You might go out to dinner or something. You pay that. You pay more than that, really. So, and then you don't think nothing of it. Well, you got to put a little bit like, like $500,000 price, whatever price point, like a little bit higher, where somebody got to think about it for a second before they buy it. It's like, yeah, now you'll take it serious and you'll actually go take some action off of this. Because there's no point. I say this because I've taken a lot of, like, I used to be the guy that thought courses were scams until I started taking them and actually making money from them. And it's like some courses, don't get me wrong, some courses are cheap and you can still make money. But it's like I learned, like when you pay attention, and the more you put into it, the more trust me, the more action you're gonna take, the quicker you're gonna try to get this thing going because you need to see a return on your money.
Right. Right. That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing, man. I bought a $47. I bought $47 courses all the time. Like, if that's why I don't get on Facebook much, man. Because if I get hit with an ad and it got some stuff in there, and I'm like, even if it's just one thing that I feel that, oh, I don't know how to do that, but everything else I do, I'm gonna buy it. You know what I'm saying? And so there was this one where this guy was talking about doing challenges, and I've never done challenges before in my business. And it had like all this other stuff that it did, but the challenges was the thing that stuck out to me because I'm like, yo, I need to learn how to do that. So I'm going to the site, and in my mind, I'm expecting with everything that's included. I'm like, oh, it's probably gonna be 197, 297, whatever. I'm gonna do it because I want to learn this challenge thing. And it was $47. I bought that thing so quick, and I sat on it for about 3 months because I was busy doing some other stuff. And then finally, when I had some free time, I said, let me dive into this course because I want to get a challenge together. So I dove into it. I'm going through it, reading it, all that other stuff, listening to the videos, applying it. And I'm like, man, this is going to be dope. Like, I know this is going to kill, like it was already worth the money to me at that time. It was worth it before I bought it. You know what I'm saying? Just reading what it included. I said, this is worth like $200-300. So I did it. And he had like a Facebook group that you could join. So I was like, let me go join the group so I can see what other people's challenges are. So I joined the group, and he was running this other challenge, and people were coming in, and he was like, yo, if you guys want to get my challenge masterclass, you can click here to get it. So I clicked that link because I was like, is there another one that's like maybe more than this one? And it was the same one, and it was $197. So I don't know if the guy hired a coach or someone got in his ear, but someone told him you're charging too little for this. And the same course I bought for $47 3 months prior was $197.
Yep.
So people literally miss out on so much because they think, oh, it's too cheap. Like, to me, I'm like one of those people, oh, it's just 40, let me see. I lost $47, going to a restaurant that had horrible food or horrible service. What's $47? You know what I'm saying? So like I said, that's just a funny story I wanted to share because a lot of people, they don't understand that the people that are selling these cheap courses, it hasn't registered with them what their true value is yet. So because of that, you could literally be missing out on someone that once they get the right coach in their ear or the right strategist that says, yo, we need to bump the price of this up, you could literally be paying more for something later down the road because you didn't value it enough earlier in the road. So, that's just something that I wanted to kind of drop in there.
And on top of that, like higher price points, you tend to what's I guess the right way? Like you tend to get like sometimes you don't want everybody to have your stuff. You don't want everybody to come get your service or anything like that. Sometimes you want a specific client, and sometimes the cheaper client ain't always the best. I learned that the hard way recently. Actually, doing credit repair, and I had to stop because it's just like I was trying to be the cheapest person out there, but it's like too many headaches running around, chase people down for like $50 a month, and it's just like we start realizing like, nah, I can just focus this attention to something else and grow, and like that's working for me that I could actually grow. And that's what a lot of people don't take into consideration. They just want to get when they get started, they just want to get every person they can, and some of the people not the right people for you. They're not your ideal client. So that's something
Right.
I think people need to take into consideration too. Like even not just coaching, like providing services, all of that. Like I see it so often now, especially talking to different people that come on the show. So I'm glad that you hit on that. And
Man, because it's important. It's important to understand that, and I hope that people catch that piece that you just said. Not everybody is your client. I have an 80-20 rule when it comes to business, and it's this, Ollie. The only time I'll tell you as a man to chase after the 20 is in business. 20% of the people that follow you are actually serious about what it is that you have to offer. 80% of the people aren't. You don't want to go to battle with the 80% because you're battling broke and scarcity mindsets. These people aren't broke, but mentally they think, oh, if I spend this $47 and it doesn't work, I'm going to be broke forever. This $47 is going to break me and I'm never going to be able to recover from it. That's where people go in their mind because when they look at all the things and check all the boxes off of, oh yeah, I do need to learn that. I do need to learn that. I do need to know that. And they get down to see it's $47, they start thinking about losing. They start thinking about the price and they forget about the value. I tell people all the time, 20% of the people that follow you are the ones that are going to run with you. 20% is the number. When you look at webinar statistics, is a proven fact, 20% of people that sign up for a free webinar are going to show up. So for every 100 people that sign up for your free webinar, 20 are going to show up. The other 80, they're going to forget about it the moment they hit submit, right? They just don't value free information. 20% of the people that show up to a free webinar are going to potentially purchase it if your product, if you clearly state what problem you solve and the solution that you're presenting. 20%. Another interesting statistic that people need to know is 20% of business, 20% of people who are in a 9 to 5 start a side hustle or a business every single year. Another statistic, and I'll leave the statistics alone. I love statistics. You can go Google this. This ain't Georgianomics. This is public information. 20% of people, like I said, are going to start a business or a side hustle on an annual basis, right? And the other thing is 10 to 20% of the or 20% of the U.S. population owns a business. 9.3% are small businesses, meaning that they have less than I can't remember how many employees and do at least 10 million a year or less. The other 10.3% or 10.7% are large businesses. But the reason they don't count that in the number for businesses in the U.S. is because a lot of them are international and they bring businesses here, or vice versa. So literally 20% is a number that so many entrepreneurs need to focus on, which will make it more clear on them on how they message themselves, how they position themselves, and what content they use. Because when you try to put content out there for everybody, you're only going to get a handful of the 20% because you're going to lose them with you need passive income to change your life. You need to stop living pay. They've already figured that part out. They need to know what the true call to action is. They need to know what the value is, because the 20% understand value. The 80% only understand cost. So if you focus on the people that understand the value and you present, here's the value that my course brings, you're going to close more people at the 20% range than you're going to close the people in the 80%.
And that's the dopest thing I ever heard. I never heard that before. Like, I'm glad you kind of hit on that, because a lot of people, you see them, especially on Instagram. Like, we could talk about this real quick before we wrap up. Like, you'll see a lot of people hitting on like the whole Instagram following and stuff like that, not realizing that most of that is just, I guess, and I'm sensitive to say, like, for show almost. Like, it's not really about how many people you got following you or nothing like that. It's really like, how many are you closing? Like, how many are you converting in actual, like, monetize? How many are you monetizing, basically? So, real quick, can you kind of break down, because you recently lost your Instagram and you started another one. But can you kind of break down, like, what you, like, how you even was able to grow that back up? Because I think you got over, like, I think you was like 17,000 already.
Yeah, so
like, it's crazy.
So, man, I lost my Instagram page because an imposter page, which was a page that was created with a similar name as mine. They used my profile picture. They copied all of my images from my page and created.
That's been going on a lot lately. It's crazy.
And a lot of people with huge pages have been losing their pages. Runaway Billionaire, Paris Millionaire, all those people, man, lost their pages from this. And the crazy thing is, those fake pages are still out there.
Still out.
That's a whole other conversation. They're still out there. So what happened was, man, these fake pages, what they'll do is they'll send a whole bunch of fake followers to your page, and they report all of your posts as spam, and then they report your page as an imposter page. So my page got it, and I got an email from Facebook saying you can't log into your account because you did something against community guidelines. And I'm like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, all I post about is financial literacy and building multiple streams of income. Like, I don't even cuss, you know? And, come to find out, my page was reported because I was impersonating me. So they said, okay, well, for you to prove who you are, we need you to send us a government identification, a selfie with this identification, another form of identification, and another selfie showing a current event. So I had to get up early in the morning and go to 7-Eleven because I got this notification at like 6 in the morning. So I ran up and I went over to 7-Eleven, got a newspaper, got my passport and got my driver's license, and I took man about 10 selfies. Close
Man,
up, like I'm talking about like, see this, came back 30 minutes later, these documents are inconclusive. Therefore, you have been permanently banned from our community. Because I had my Facebook attached to my Instagram as well as my Facebook ads account that I spent over $100,000+ in ad spend, all that data, they took it off. Even my personal Facebook page.
bro, that's crazy. Yeah, and it's crazy because I seen this out like my boy Zay. They just got him. I think I just seen Tail Tech. They got him. It's crazy what's going
Yeah,
on
they
right
got
now,
Zay too.
and they being real stingy with the like. This could all be resolved. They would just verify people, like, but that's
That's
that
it.
status symbol. The whole verify thing is like a status symbol now. It's like, and that's crazy because they can avoid all of this. But
Yeah,
y'all
yeah.
watch out for these scammers, man, because it's crazy. But you
It's
was able to
crazy.
get your page back, and I think you got like you got a course on that, don't you? Teach people how to
Yeah.
like.
So my first page had 51,000 followers, and it took me 2 years to build that. So everything I do, I make notes of it. I use Evernote, and I put everything that I do that works. I make a note of it, so I know how to go back and duplicate it. So I made notes and strategies along the way of 2 years of everything that was working that allowed my page to grow. So May 9th was when I lost my page. May 17th was when I created my new one because I fought for 2 weeks trying to get my page back. Had my attorney send a letter. I had to fire one attorney because he wouldn't send a letter for me. I said, send me the money that you got on retainer for me because you're my business attorney. I pay you for it. Facebook don't like people sending legal letters. I was like, you're an attorney. This is what you do. You scared of it, and I had to fire him and find somebody else and told him what happened. They're like, oh, George, this is bogus. So I hired another attorney, and we fought it, man. And they said we're a private company. We don't have to give you any reason why. We don't have to go any further than what we do for anybody else. Because when you lose your account, you can't reach customer service. You can't log in. You can't go to support. Nothing. So I ended up just having to create a new page. And I ended up growing my page to 17,000 followers and 15,000 in 2 months and 17,000 in three. And so I had a lot of people, like most of the people that reached out to me were people that had big pages. Bro, how'd you do that? Like watching you every day, it seems like you're posting, you hit a 1K, then 2K. Then one day I looked up, you were at 5K. I was like, how are you doing it? And I was just telling people like, man, I had a strategy on how I grew my old page and I just implemented that on this one and it's working twice as fast. I had let up on it on my bigger page because I got comfortable at 50,000. So I probably could have been at 100 by now. So people were like, man, you need to do a training. You need to do a course on this. So I ended up doing a webinar because I was getting people asking me about it all the time, man. And we had like 500 people come to the webinar. I think we've sold just over 1,000 of that training since the webinar. And literally, man, it was just following those principles that I taught in the webinar, being consistent, posting 3 to 5 times a day, doing all the other stuff that people don't want to talk about or do. And that does take time, but it yielded results. Right now, I'm averaging about 1,100 followers a week, but on a good week, sometimes I'll hit 2 or 3,000. There's been a couple times if you look at my numbers where it skipped. Like I think at 11,000, my next post was like 13,000 because I skipped 12. Like it just blew past me. I didn't. By the time I noticed that I'd hit 12,000, I was already at 13. So there's some weeks that I've gotten like 2,000 followers and stuff. I've been kind of having it on cruise control last couple of weeks because we just launched a new agency where we're building people's brains and pages and their back end, their courses and stuff. So I haven't been focused as much lately, but I'm still getting about 800 a week. So it is what it is.
Man, for one, man, I just want to thank you for coming on my platform because you didn't have to do that. So I definitely want to say I appreciate you, my brother. Appreciate you for coming through, dropping some knowledge because a lot of people don't even think about half the stuff that you talk about. So this will spark something for them, hopefully, and they can learn something from this. Now, I do this last round. That's a talk to the culture segment where I just run off 5 questions and I just need you as best you can. So the first one, what does wealth look like to you?
Wealth looks like to me something that money that I make today, my grandkids will still spend 20, 30 years from now.
That's when I get a book recommendation, but the book cannot be Rich Dad Poor Dad because everybody suggests
The book that I recommend, I'll pull it up right here, is The Jewish Phenomenon. This is one of the best books you can ever read on building wealth for your kids, the importance of taking what you learn from a 9 to 5 and the money you earn from it and starting a business, and how you need to leverage that money to invest into other things. I'm not going to spoil it, that can leave generational wealth for your kids. The
it.
answer I gave you on what wealth means to me, this book breaks it all down. The Jewish Phenomenon by Steven Silberger, but get the revised version. As you can see, revised version, because there's two versions, but the cover looks just like this for the revised version. This book right here will change your life.
And you know they got that Audible. I'm about to check that out.
Man, no, and I love
Oh
Audible.
man,
If this book was on Audible, I would probably be reading it every single month or listening to it every month.
oh man.
Because I try to read a new book, every month. But I'll listen on Audible. I've listened to Can't Hurt Me at least 7 times, and so many other ones as well. But this is the only book. It's not on Audible. I wish they would get one, but they don't have an
Hey,
audio book.
all right. Next question is: what is one thing you think the Black community needs to improve on?
Mindset. A lot of us, we're just so we're raised to survive because that's all we've been doing for generations is just surviving. We're just trying to make it. But we have to understand that we no longer just have to make it anymore. We can build our own platforms like what you're doing here with Wealth for the Culture. We can build our own brands like what I'm doing with Monetize Everything and George Pitts and Company. We can build our own products and services like what I'm doing with my courses, my trainings, my books, my apparel. We can do everything that we see Nike do. We can do everything that we see. Shaq just bought Reebok. You know what I'm saying? Like we can buy real estate and leave things for our kids. We don't have to sell. We don't have to wait for a grandparent to leave and then sell their house just so we can come up on some money. You can literally make what we depend on every year for taxes. And if someone leaves a little bit of money they got, a little bit of stuff of value they got that we can liquidate to make some money for a quick come up, you could do that on a daily basis now. But we have to change our mindset to go from survival mode to literally abundance mode. We are living in a time of abundance now, and the internet has leveled the playing field. So literally, if we change our mindset, we'll change everything else.
All right, and my next question: what is next for you, man? What's next for George Pitts?
So right now, man, we've got a community that we're rolling out. We just did our first cohort, and it went extremely well. So we're going to open that up very soon. It's a membership community. It's going to be lower cost for people to get in. We're going to be doing, weekly trainings on certain topics. We're going to be bringing people in that are killing it in their areas and really breaking that mindset mold, but also giving people daily strategies like when we might have a call and say, okay guys, this week I'm focusing on this and this in my business. This is how I'm going to do it. This is what I'm going to do, and really giving people the game on how I'm going to be spending my week so they can go out and follow that journey and duplicate it, and really just teach people how to take their businesses to the next level. But also the biggest thing for me is ushering a community of like-minded people, because just as well as me, when you're starting out, you're doing something that most of your homeboys or cousins or anything like that aren't doing and don't understand. It's hard, man, because if you end up not being as successful as you want or getting the results that you want up front, it's so easy to say, man, my cousins were right, my homeboys were right. Let me just go back to kicking it with them. Let me just go back to doing this with them. And then you literally let your dreams go. But when you're around other people that are doing it, and people that are willing to comment on your stuff, saying, hey man, keep your head up. What is it that you're doing? Let's look at it. Okay, man, if I was you, I would do this, this, and this. That's the kind of community that I'm building, that people can literally chime in, bring people up and give them some strategies. I'm not going to give too much away, but we got a lot of things that's literally going to accelerate the growth of people's pages, the growth of their businesses, and things that we're going to do as a community that's literally going to accelerate people's process when it comes to starting these journeys.
Hey, that's what's up. I look forward to seeing how that goes. Last thing, plug yourself, tell everybody where they can find you, how they can hold you, all that.
Yeah, man. So the two places that I'm at the most that you can find me is Instagram at Mr. Monetize Everything, and also Clubhouse, which is Mr. George Pitts. Again, the reason those names are different is because Mr. George Pitts was taken down, so Mr. Monetize Everything was birthed, but I'd already had a following and everything on Clubhouse under Mr. George Pitts, so I couldn't change that. So on Clubhouse, Mr. George Pitts. On Instagram, Mr. Monetize Everything. Those are the two places that you can find me. We got a lot of trainings. You can definitely check out my course academy, the Wealth Stream Academy, where we teach things on wealth, such as how to fix your own credit, how to invest in the dividend stocks, how to build your own course. We've got tons of trainings to take people through financial literacy, to take people through generating passive income, and then going through the part of creating long-term wealth. That's the three pillars of my online academy. And those things can be found on my Instagram link in my bio.
That's what's up, man. And we'll have that in the show notes, people. So once again, I want to thank you, my brother. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for blessing the mic with a bunch of game, man.
Absolutely, man. Listen, thank you for having me, man. Thank you for creating this space. I don't care what anybody says, man, to you or anybody that's listening. There's not enough podcasts out there. You know what I'm saying? People always like, oh, everybody's podcast. No, they're not. There's 334 million people. There's maybe 1 million podcasts. So literally, we need more. We need more wealth for the cultures. We need more. We need more episodes, man. We need more stuff. So, man, keep doing what you do, because this is stuff right here that you literally bring the best out of your guests with your questions, because you brought the best out of me today. But you also, because you bring the best out of us, you're literally allowing us to give the best of ourselves to the people that are listening, man. So I just want to encourage you, man, to just keep moving forward, keep pushing the culture forward, keep doing your thing, man, because this is what our culture needs. The playing field is finally level. We need to get as many people on the field as possible out of the sidelines, because at some point, man, when they see how many people that look like us are killing it, becoming millionaires and all this other stuff like we're doing, eventually they're going to change the game up, and we're going to have to adjust. And the thing is, if you got people still sitting on the sidelines, every time the game changes, the rules get harder. So you might as well get in and get conditioned to it now when the rules ain't hard, because when they change and they get harder the next time, you ain't even going to want to touch it by then. So keep doing
this. That is a fact, man. I appreciate you, man. And like we always say on this platform, man, we're good at success if everybody around you is still struggling. So each one reach one, each one teach one, man, and we are out.